Moving up with my NuWho ranking once again, now we're up to Tier 9. Tier 9 covers positions 105 to 117. Off we go. 117, The Rebel Flesh and the Almost People, i.e., the 5th and 6th episodes of Series 6. I know they had to come up with a reason as to get kind of Amy away from the Doctor and Rory, but this episode I just consider kind of weird. I mean, it had good ideas, it had good intentions. I just don't know if they're entirely pieced together. Just my personal opinion. Off we go. 116, The God Complex, i.e., the 11th episode of Series 6. Similar to The Rebel Flesh, kind of a good idea, kind of a multi layer prison where people's faith is tested, but once again, it has some weird moments, and honestly, it's a little hard to follow for the most part. Plus, adding a Minotaur in just seems a little heavy handed. I don't know. It's usually one I rank fairly low with Series 6. 115, Smile, i.e. the second episode of Series 10. Robots that communicate through emojis and want to kill anyone who doesn't smile. Yeah, sure. You you can't mourn the death of a loved one, you have to be happy. And if you're not happy, you deserve to die. Oh, lovely. The Ghost Monument, the second episode of Series 11. The first outing for the new Team TARDIS, not necessarily a bad one, just kind of a little lackluster. I don't know. There were possibly more spectacular ways to get back to the TARDIS, but you know what? I think this is pretty good. 113, Closing Time, the 12th episode of Series 6. I did include this one on my Guilty Pleasures marathon, and I do love it, but when stacked up against everything else, it does kind of rank fairly low, especially particularly below the other James Corden episode. But you know what, I still enjoy it even if it is fairly low down the list when stacked up against the others. 112, Nightmare in Silver, the 12th episode of Series 7. Similar arguments with Nightmare in Silver compared to Closing Time. It had some good moments, and written by Neil Gaiman, it was always going to be rather spectacular. But when stacked up against everything else, it is kind of a little lackluster. So that's why it ends up down here. 111, Knock Knock, i.e. the 4th episode of Series 10. This this was fairly good. I mean, a Doctor Who horror episode that usually works well with original Poirot actor David Suchet. Yeah, you know what? He's working. He works in it. He's fairly creepy and he does well with the part he's given. But the ending with his mother being made of wood, that just seems a little weird to me. And the way everything gets sorted out just kind of seems a little odd. Plus, I know that they always hesitate to show kind of death in Doctor Who, but the fact that everyone gets out alive, that kind of threw me for a little bit. Just like, okay, suddenly everyone gets released from their traps, and then they're gonna run out of there. Like, okay, there couldn't be any slight injuries. I'm just saying. Knock Knock ends up at 111. 110, The Return of Doctor Mysterio, i.e. the Christmas special of 2016. If you don't count Class, this was actually the only Doctor Who we got in 2016, so I'm not going to complain about this episode. I do love it. I do love that it's kind of Doctor Who does superhero movies, and compared to the MCU, it's a little crude, but you know, if you compare it to other superhero movies, it's kind of fun, it's campy, it's classic, but then campiness can work against it. And while I didn't include it on my Guilty Pleasures marathon, I do love rewatching this episode, especially kind of around Christmas time. 109, The Long Game, i.e. the 7th episode of Series 1. Essentially a partial setup episode for the Series 1 finale. It had some stuff in it we liked, such as Simon Pegg, but it also has Adam. We don't talk about Adam. I'm sorry, we just don't. Once again, I feel the Jagrafess, a monster in the ceiling, a little weird, but yeah, there you go. 108, The Crimson Horror. I think. Hold on. Yeah, the 11th episode of Series 7. once again, a nice kind of a nice setup, a very sinister villain with Mrs. Gillyflower, rather dark tendency at the end, and you know what, it's got some good stuff in there. I don't know, I think it's okay. Thin Ice, 107 goes to Thin Ice, the third episode of Series 10. London, London during the Great Frost Fair. You know what? That's pretty good. But then it also does present a Doctor Who plot hole. If that was the last Great Frost Fair, where were River Song and Stevie Wonder? Think about it. Look back through Doctor Who and you'll understand what I'm talking about. 106, The Time of the Doctor, the regeneration episode for Matt Smith. In terms of NuWho, I consider this one the weakest regeneration story. But then, you can't say he didn't go out with a bang, facing off against many different monsters from his tenure, including Daleks, Weeping Angels, Cybermen, the whole shebang. He Sontarans, he went up against all of them, and you know what? It was spectacular, but I do rank it as the lowest regeneration story. And to round off Tier 9, number 105, Daleks in Manhattan and Evolution of the Daleks, i.e. episodes 4 and 5 of Series 3. I personally consider this one the weakest of the Cult of Skaro trilogy. But, you know what, it's a good midway point, it's got some good elements to it, and hey, you even get one of the Spider-Men in there. Andrew Garfield appears in this story. Look for me, you might see it. It's got some good stuff in there, and it certainly reflects the time period of the 1930s, but, you know what, I still rank it top of my 9th tier. So it's okay, but we've got a lot better to go. So there you go. Tier 9. Hope to move up soon to tier 8. Until then, see ya.